Hey, welcome investors to the 40 Finance channel. My name's Jeff Beers. Today I have 7 stocks under $20 that I think at bare minimum are worth adding to your watch list. Now, a lot of stocks under $20 are still considered speculative, usually because they haven't had a long track record of revenue and earnings to go back on. And that's certainly the case with some of the names that we have on here. But worst case scenario, write these names down, put them on your watch list, get a feel for how they're trading, and maybe add some positions for all these names. I'm talking about the long-term future, anywhere between 3 to 5 years to get maximum ROI out of each name. So we'll jump in here and take a look at what we have. And quick reminder, if you want to help out the channel, please subscribe to the 40 Finance channel, like this video, all the things. Thank you to everybody for your support. All right, first stock on the board here is one I've talked about on the channel before, BFT. This is a SPAC that will turn into PaySafe literally any day now. There was speculation that it would happen on March 25th. I'm not sure if that is still the plan. However, when it does switch from BFT to PaySafe, you're going to inherit a digital payment platform similar in some ways to PayPal, but the big bull case here for me is that they are the payment provider for DraftKings as well as literally dozens of other sportsbook platforms, and that is obviously a market that is going to grow in the United States and likely grow internationally as well. So take a look at BFT and consider getting in while this thing's still a SPAC. All right, taking a look at the technical chart here for BFT. Again, this stock has only been on the market since, I don't know, November or something like that. So we don't even have a 200-day moving average yet. You can see that the 50-day is trading in the range of 1626. You're down to 15. The lowest it has went in recent days is 1395. That came back on the March meltdown. You've got a weakening RSI here over the past several days. So this is a good opportunity, in my opinion, from a price perspective, to get into this stock now with the promise that PaySafe as a company will do well on its earnings over the next few years and hopefully turn into at least a double up for you in a few years. All right, another stock here that I own is SmileDirectClub, SDC. And this is another one that has melted down a little bit lately from $14.99 down to $10.49. Their Q1 earnings were sort of meh, if you will. This is a company that has been impacted heavily by COVID because they've had to close offices, as well as the fact that it seems like people have put some of their cosmetic dentistry on hold. And with that, it makes for an intriguing opportunity, particularly over the next couple years, as this is a company that is projected to have literally outstanding revenue and earnings growth, dip into some profitability, certainly by 2022. All right, taking a look at the technicals, and this is exactly what you want to see if you're hunting for value. You can see that we are crossing under the 200-day moving average. The last most weakest point was $10.09. So with this kind of market meltdown that we've seen over the past couple weeks, this could technically go lower. I'm in at $7, and frankly, I'm anticipating that this stock is a $20+ stock, certainly heading into 2022 as dental visits, particularly cosmetic dental visits, come more into play as people return to events and so forth. All right, taking a look at TipRanks to see what the best performing analysts think of SDC. And here we have fairly fresh analysis of 1 month and 19 days ago. Both of these analysts are coming in at $13, which is a 30% increase from where we stand today. However, me personally, I do think earnings are going to surprise as the year goes on, and it wouldn't surprise me if these analysts come back in and make some edits as we see earnings and revenue expectation increase over the next several months. All right, next on the board, we have another SPAC, Gores Holdings, GHVI. And I did a live stream the other day, and somebody brought this to my attention. If you've watched the Meet Kevin channel, he has those Matterport cameras for real estate that do 3D imaging so that you can do house layouts and building construction type rendering. And Matterport's a pretty interesting company because they really do have this two-sided coin of these, $3,000 cameras and the recurring software that goes along with them. So I'm intrigued enough. I do not own this stock, but you can see at the high point of the hoopla, say February 19th, you're at $24. It's sinking down to $13.74. The changeover date into Matterport is pegged for Q2, so that could be anywhere April, May, June, not really sure yet. But where this price is melted down to, I think it starts to become more interesting. All right, on the technical side, this one hasn't been out long enough to really get any sort of moving average activity. All we can do is see how it's come off of the highs. You do have a low here on the latest market dip on March 4th. It got to 1322. So if you missed out then, it's at 1378 right now. And judging by the RSI, you can see that we definitely have some weak interest in this one right now, likely because people are transitioning out of high growth stocks to some degree into safer plays. So do your research on Matterport, and if you feel good about it, this could be a great time to get in, at least based on the previous price history. One call out here for Matterport, GHVI is, because it's a SPAC, I do not have TipRanks analysis to show you on this one. So there's definitely sort of a blind buy on all of these SPACs. Analysts typically don't touch them until they can actually be printed on the market, and then you have the sort of filings that coincide with that show financials and etc. So it's a blind buy. However, a couple of the things that are attractive to me for Matterport is it is an international company, and the fact that they sort of have this environment of software plus the cameras, and they actually make it somehow so that the pictures you take with your camera only work with their software for some of the models. So it's a very interesting closed ecosystem. And if they can build out this world, particularly on an international scale, then I could see some great profits down the road. All right, next on the board is IGT, International Game Technology. This is a maker of lottery machines as well as some of the digital games that you play in a casino. And it's obviously been through some hard times, given that casinos were mostly closed and you didn't have a lot of people ordering new equipment, at least on the gaming side. And it's been rising up, but popping up and down along the way. So at 1692, you're getting in almost to that point that we saw right in the beginning of January. And if you feel good about IGT's sales numbers with casinos opening, as well as likely better sales for lottery suppliers, this could be a good play. All right, on the technical side, you can see the story dipping under the 50-day moving average, almost to the same point that we saw in March. And also in late January, they did get into the 15s a little bit. So if you anticipate more market meltdown, you might target around the $15 mark. But it's still in a comfortable position way above the 50-day. RSI's trailing off like you've seen in several other instances, and yet somehow IGT continues to hold this point, and that is mostly because there's a lot of positive sentiment around this one. All right, on the TipRanks side of things, coverage is a little bit older than I like. You got 22 days, 21 days ago, but you can see how we're looking. All the analysts in that $20 to $25 range over the next year. So depending on when you buy in, this is almost feels really good for a plus 50% to plus 75% if you're able to hold it, certainly for at least a year, and potentially even better if you can hold longer than that. All right, next on the board, Everspin Technologies, ticker symbol MRAM. And at $6.08, this is definitely the smallest stock and price, for that matter, that we have here today. But with MRAM, you're playing on a change in technology. So they make this magneto random access memory that has the potential and is already being used in some cases to replace other forms of like flash memory that are out there. And there's a particularly interesting case for it in the automotive and industrial space because it doesn't have as much resistance to high temperatures that you see some of the other memories struggle with. So I really like this one. I've been waiting for it to go under $6 over the past couple weeks. That hasn't happened yet, but that's my target for getting in, just to get a small sliver of it and keep in the back of my portfolio. If this technology takes off, this could be a 3Xer. All right, on the technical side, you can see just how wild this one gets with swings. You are up to $7.11 on February 12th. You also had a 689 most recently on St. Patrick's Day. You're definitely under the 200-day average, but still above the most recent 50-day. RSI certainly hasn't hit rock bottom, but it is heading that way. So again, if you can be patient and try to get this one around $5 to $6, I think you'll be better off as far as protection over the next 12 months. But if the right press release comes out, you can see way back here into the $7 and $8 range. All they need is that one press release that says, you know, XYZ is using MRAM going forward for their use. And that will, of course, pique investors' interest, and you'll have a mini run on this stock. But, you know, from a penny stock perspective, I'm looking to buy between 200 and 300 shares, nothing crazy. And we'll just have to see if they can continue making progress on the integration side. All right, next stock out here, made famous by Jeremy from Financial Education, Tattooed Chef. And I was not originally interested in Tattooed Chef, to be honest with you, mostly because the food space is very competitive. But as I talked to one of my neighbors about it and we were sort of digging into it, he brought up the point that this could be a great acquisition target for big food. So whoever, Kraft or Heinz or, you know, one of those gigantic companies could easily buy into this, knowing, of course, that plant-based foods are a popular topic. So with that in mind, I kind of opened my eyes up a little more. And what I like about what we're seeing today at 1943 is you're way off the big highs of 27. You also had a 26 in here and a 25. So now you're under $20. We did have a low on March 4th of 1928 and back around Thanksgiving or so at 15. So if anything else, it's worth watching right now, simply because there's a point with any stock that when the price gets low enough, you're willing to take a chance on it. Taking a look at the technicals, we're now under the 200-day moving average. That bounced off of that a couple weeks ago on 3.8. And you almost have the steep decline in RSI. So if this thing's ever going to be up for a bargain in the near future, it's looking like now's a decent time because coming into March, it was on sort of an upward path. Now it's dipping down below. It will be interesting to see over the summertime, since this is technically frozen food, how well their sales fare. But, you know, just look for the right price. And if you get in and you're willing to hold for at least a year, I think, on this one, it could really be something, because I'll tell you, their revenue growth is very, very strong. All right, and I'm laughing a little bit because I forgot to show you MRAM in TipRanks, Everspin Technologies. They don't have a ton of analysts at a $6 stock, not a big surprise there. 1 month ago, you did have a fella at Needham who put a price target of $10 on it. So again, if you're creeping into that $5 range on MRAM, you only need one or two good things to happen to double your money up. So keep an eye on it. All right, now let's look at Tattooed Chef. And we've only had one person come in over the past 2 months. Again, this is such a small stock. Don't be surprised by that. You have a hold at $21. We are below that price point now. 4 months ago, you had a buy at 26. So I would say your immediate upside is relatively limited for this one over the next, 30 or 60 days. The game would be in the long term, and that's why kind of micromanaging your buy-in point. If it's at 19 today, and you expect more market volatility, then in that case, hopefully you could get it even lower. 15 feels really good for this one if you want short-term upside. But for now, even if you buy in at 19 and hold for a couple years, from a revenue growth standpoint, I think that you will have a fairly good investment on your hands. All right, next stock on the board is Wish, which is ContextLogic. And Wish is basically a mobile app, kind of like eBay, and let's just say Five Below or Dollar General. Putting those two worlds together, you have a lot of inexpensive items ranging from clothing to jewelry, little tool sets, you name it. And their whole marketability is for, value and inexpensive products, and their sales have been really good. This is a kind of wacky marketplace that I could totally see doing well with stimulus checks, the return to normalcy, as people are shopping on their phone while they're traveling and just having stuff sent to their house. Take a look at the Wish app. It's very interesting. Even if you're not interested in the stock, I recommend you take a look at it. And what we see here, you had a high of $31. You're down to 16. The company's not profitable yet, like everybody else on this list, so there's not a lot of fundamentals to look at. But if we do go to the technicals, let's scroll out a little bit. Oh, it looks like it just came in here on December 15th was when it launched. So we do have a 50-day moving average. It's way below that. And you're starting to fall back into an RSI level that could mimic what we saw in the beginning of March. And at that point, you had a price of $15.94. Today, you're at roughly $6.10. So this could be another one. Put it on your watch list. You might wake up one day, see this stock for $11, $12. And the future, the long-term future for this one, I'm not going to say it's locked in stone, but it definitely has some bright spots to it. All right, on the TipRanks side of things, we did get a couple analysts coming in 16, 15, 6 days ago. You got two holds actually at $20, and we're way below $20 right now. On the positives, you have buy signal for 22, 31, 30, and 25. So I'm not the only one who sees a little bit of promise to this app, and it's mostly because of the demographic that they serve and the fact that we basically have free money going to people, throw in tax refunds on top of it, and we've got a lot of free money entering the consumer marketplace, and Wish could really benefit similar to perhaps a way that Etsy benefited from a lockdown scenario. All right, now I got two bonus picks for you for stocks that are not quite under $20, but they are reaching some low points that I think make them attractive. Palantir, of course, is a very popular stock. That is one that if you are ever interested, you should put your eyes on it now because it looks like it's sort of weakening, certainly off of its $38 high in February 9th. This is a stock I own. I think my cost basis is $25 or $26. So I personally have been taking this opportunity to add some shares under my cost basis. On the technical side, Palantir is still new, so no 200-day average, but we do have a 50. It is well below the 50-day moving average at $22 right now, and the RSI is reaching, looks like 27. Even as today. So we're definitely getting on the slow side of Palantir. And if it's a stock that you're interested in, I don't know. I don't know if it could go under 20. I mean, obviously it could. And if it did, I would simply be adding more. This is a company that's not profitable, and there's a lot of questions about their valuation. So I want to be honest with you. From my standpoint, though, I've seen enough in terms of the good things that they are doing from a technology standpoint, and I'm taking a chance on it with, roughly 1 or 2% of my portfolio, we'll see what happens. All right, on the TipRanks side, kind of a mixed bag here over the past month. You have a couple folks that are obviously out. They got sell signals at $19.15. You've got a hold at 27, and you have one buy at 40. So analysts certainly are not saying buy Palantir at this point. And for me anyway, I'm less worried about the 1 year from now. This one is going to be 3 to 5 years for sure, and you have to have that mentality with Palantir because there's nothing in the fundamentals that would show you that this stock has upside over the next year. The only thing that might give it 10 to 20% upside in the short term would just be interest from investors. All right, last one. This one again, just outside of the $20 range is Skillz. They basically make mobile gaming applications both for the gambling industry or gaming industry and esports industry. And Skillz jumped on my radar, I don't know, a month or two ago because the NFL actually hired them to do some work for fan interaction. So I thought, you know, once they get that NFL calling card, not only is there a lot more work to be done in the NFL, but you know, you could see other leagues be interested in that as well. But funny thing happens when your press release says NFL, you know, your stock goes up to $42, and we've melted down from there to $20.34. So again, for me, when I'm always looking for some value, I have to keep this on my radar because if it were to dip below $20, then it's setting the stock all the way back to December 30th and becomes a lot more interesting. All right, on the technical side, you can see that the way that we're heading now, well towards the 200-day moving average, that there's a chance the bottom could really fall out of Skillz at some point. And if that happens, if you saw anything like $17 or $15, then again, you're in that SPAC territory. You're in a blind buy on a company that may or may not continue to sign clients like the NFL. However, I think that there's enough here. If you go to their investor presentations and you like what you see, you could be staring at an interesting opportunity, certainly over the next couple years as gambling and esports really take off here in the United States. All right, on the TipRanks side of things, 13 days ago for these top 4 analysts, you have a buy at 34, 30, 33, and a hold at 28. Every price on this page is more than the stock price today. So I think that there's some room to run in this one. It's going to be very similar to Palantir and all the other names that we've mentioned. You're not necessarily going to get that fundamental support, right? You're banking on short-term upside being interest from investors, and the long-term upside is when the fundamentals start to shake out. That's not a game I take very lightly, and it's certainly not an anchor part of my portfolio, but there's room for everybody to have speculation plays like this. It's just a matter of finding ones that resonate with you. All right, guys, so that's 9 stocks in total. All of them I've looked through myself. I can't promise you that they're going anywhere, but they all feel good from a business perspective. As far as like, we're not talking about companies that don't have products here. We're not talking about companies that are one bill away from bankruptcy. But we are talking about companies that are much more promise than they are deliver when it comes to revenue and profit. So keep that in mind. And that's why even if I bought every single stock that was on this board, it would still cap out somewhere in the neighborhood of 20% or something of my whole portfolio. Wouldn't go much higher than that. At the end of the day, I still believe in the Visas and the PayPals and those stocks that I can dig in and see the revenue and the profits materializing so that I know what I'm getting. But just like food and entertainment, there's always room for something special, and that's kind of what we're looking at here with some of these stocks that are under $20. All right, guys, hope you enjoyed this video. Please give me a like and subscribe if you did. We'll see you on the next one.